Have you ever forgotten a fly rod at the boat ramp, lost a piece of gear on the river, or maybe even dumped a drift boat and lost all your gear? Did you ever get any back? Today, Robert from Karmic Outdoors gives us a solution where 70% of the items are found and returned to you within one 24-hour period. Got a good show for you today and a good solution, so let's dig into it.
Welcome to the Wet Fly Swing Fly Fishing Show, where you discover tips, tricks, and tools from the leading names in fly fishing today.
Hey, how's it going today? Thanks for stopping by the Fly Fishing Show. Please take a moment right now and share this episode with one other person you think might enjoy this solution to lost gear. Click the share link in your app of choice that you're using right now and share it out with one other person. Thank you in advance for getting the word out. Robert Gillingham from Karmic Outdoors shares a great solution for lost outdoor gear today. We find out how for $10 you can protect your fly rod, your fly box, your gun, or any other piece of gear. Plus, we hear the story of how he boondocked his way around the country for a year after quitting his job, and how you can get going on it as well if you want to start that or just do a little bit of traveling. So, without further ado, here is Robert from KarmicOutdoors.com. How's it going, Robert?
Going great, man. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for putting this together. We were just having a little trying to get your young. I guess this is a boy or a girl?
He's a little boy, Oliver.
Oliver, yeah. Trying to get Oliver dialed in. He's in the background. I think we got things taken care of. It's always challenging with kids, but we're going to jump into a little bit on Karmic Outdoors. You first. I'll talk about how you first came to me, which is cool, and then we're just going to dig into maybe a little bit on finding lost fishing equipment, which is what you do best. But before we get there, talk about, first of all, I'm not even sure if you do any fishing, fly fishing, what that looks like. So talk about that.
Yeah, I'm an obsessive fly fisherman. Like if you ask me what I do, like I would like to say that I'm a fly fisherman, and then everything else just kind of falls to the wayside. You know, like I own a business and you know, I'm a teacher and like all these other things, but I am an obsessive fly fisherman, avid hunter, outdoorsman. I went to college in Reno. I got a bachelor's in wildlife ecology and conservation biology. I worked for Idaho Fish and Game for a number of years. I was a fishing game warden for a little bit in Idaho. You know, I just live and breathe the outdoors. My wife and I, we quit our jobs, we sold our house, we sold everything we owned, and we just traveled the country fly fishing for a little bit. Went to New Zealand. Yeah, so it's what we do, it's who we are.
That's amazing. So it sounds like we've been talking a little bit about doing that coming up. Maybe not, you know, traveling. We're talking about just doing some longer extended trips. You know, how can we get in place? And what was so you quit your jobs and traveled the country. What was that experience like?
You know, we had the quote unquote, you know, American dream, right? We had the cars, we had the house, we had student loans, we had good jobs, and it was just this bit of like unfulfillment, just sort of this rigmarole of just like constantly doing the same stuff. You know, you wake up Monday through Friday, work, and you're just living for the weekends. And we were like, we don't have kids. The house is worth more than we bought it for. Why don't we just, you know, take some time and just, you know, live a little bit? You know, my wife was in a place where she didn't feel super fulfilled with her life and the job that she had. And so it was like, let's just go for a little bit. Let's just do this. And, you know, sort of this whole like van life, hippie type thing that was, you know, sort of popular now. And we were like, let's do that. Let's try that a little bit. So we did that. We bought an older camper, we fixed it up, and then, you know, my goal was to sort of chase the hatches all over the United States, but in reality, we just kind of went wherever we felt like going.
Yep, I hear you. That's cool. I'm just curious, I've got a little interest in the van life sort of thing. Not that I have a van or anything like that, but what was the van and how did you fix it up?
Oh, so we started with a 23-foot camper, and I was the one who was super reserved about it. My wife was like, let's get a little van or a little camper. And I was like, okay, hang on. Like, we're moving from an 1,800 square foot house into a little van, like I need a little bit more space. So I was the one who was reserved. So we got a 23-foot camper, and then we found out that's a real pain in the ass. Like bless anybody that has a camper, but I don't ever want another camper again. When you're traveling and you don't know where you're going, you're never 100% certain if you turn down a street, you're going to be able to get off of that street, you know?
Yeah.
And it's comfortable for driving and parking and being in one spot for like 12 days, but not for just like motoring around. So then we actually came back to Idaho after several months on the road with the camper, and then we put the camper in storage, and we just got a camper shell for the truck and converted the back of the truck into a bed, and it had fold-ups and stuff, and we kept all our food in there, and I had a little raft trailer behind that with some extra gear. So then we did half the trip in a camper, and the other half of the trip we did just in the back of a truck. And then when we came home, we sold the truck, and then we actually bought the true camper van, you know, the Sprinter camper van thing, and we bought that Bear, and we converted that into a camper and everything. The problem with that is you kind of need a job to pay for the camper van because they're so expensive.
They're spendy. Yeah, that's right.
They're so expensive. So, you know, we couldn't afford that while we were on the road, so we just lived in the back of a truck, just fly fishing from Idaho to Alaska to New York to Florida and all the way around.
Wow. So how long was the trip?
It was about a year.
Oh yeah. So you took a year, and now you do have a Sprinter van, or no? Or
yeah, we did. We actually just sold it this summer because it was worth more than we paid for it, which is which is so weird that you can buy a vehicle and it appreciates in value, which is, you know, unheard of. But, you know, so we bought this van, we converted it and everything, and then for the amount of monthly payment and the amount that we were actually using it with our 2-year-old, it's like, man, we should just get this again in a couple of years when we're actually ready for it. You know, our timing has just been off with all of our vehicle purchases apparently. But yeah, so we sold that, and now we don't have anything really. We're just we're probably just going to do like the hotel Airbnb thing while we have a kid for a little bit.
Oh God! So now you're still traveling?
No, this was probably 3 years ago. We did that for a whole year, and then we came back, and then we settled back down and had kids and got our jobs and stuff back.
Gotcha. Yeah. So, and that's a great example. You know, they always say, you know, you hear people talk about that have done that have jumped off and like sold everything. And I've had a couple friends that have done that. And then it's always the thing, like people worry about like, oh man, I don't want to lose my job. But the bottom line is like, what's the worst that can happen? Right. I mean, yeah, you guys did it and you found another job. So that's always the case. It seems like you could do it. So why not, you know, it's life short. Why not try it and then come back, and you can always find a job. That's cool.
There will always be more jobs. There will always be more houses. There will always be whatever you're leaving. There will always be more of that.
Yeah. But the one thing there won't be more of always is your time, right? That you're on the planet.
Your time and your youth. You're never getting that back.
Well, we're going to dig in, you know, Karmic, and that's talking about time and youth and stuff. Obviously, running a business takes a lot of time. I'm curious to hear Karmic. I want to hear the story of how that developed, because this is a really cool product that helps people find lost gear, and I've definitely lost gear over the years. But talk about first what is Karmic, and then why did you start it?
Yeah, so Karmic is a lost and found company, essentially. We are the world's leader in outdoor gear recovery. There's a huge gap right now between lost on one side and found on the other side. And there isn't a really good connection between the two, other than like a Sharpie on your fly box, where you write your name and your phone number on there. If you lose it, like, you're never getting that back, which really sucks. You know, as fly fishermen, I'm sure we've all probably lost a net, or we've lost a fly box, or worst case, you lost your fly rod or something. And unless you have it identifiable, the finder, even if they want to, cannot get it back to you. And that was sort of my situation. I was fly fishing one of our local rivers here called the Owyhee River, and I found a fly rod, and I wanted to get it back to the owner. So I came home and I posted on Craigslist, I posted on social media. I asked the fly shops, and I got responses. a number of responses, but it wasn't for the fly rod I had on my hand. And so it's like, okay, if 9 people have contacted me about losing a fly rod on this one little river, how big of a problem is this? Like, how often are we losing our stuff? And, you do some research and you think about it, and you find that like 9 out of 10 outdoorsmen have lost something of value. And you're like, okay, that's a huge problem, because there's 145 million outdoors people in the United States. That's, over half of Americans consider themselves outdoorsy folk. And 9 out of 10 of them have lost something of value. Now, here's the interesting part. 7 out of 10 have found something of value and want to return it back to the owner, but couldn't. Like, that's the sad part. And if you go on Craigslist, if you go on any forums like Mountain Buzz, or you go on any of these, any outdoorsy forums, there's going to be a lost and found page. Look at the amount of people who are taking time out of their day and out of their life to create an account, post something, monitor that, just to do the right thing to get the gear back to the owner. People want to return found gear, they do. There's just no good way of doing that until now. Welcome to Karmic Outdoors. Welcome to our community. We're helping the finder get the gear back to the owner so that both parties are happy. Because it really sucks when you lose something of value. Maybe it's irreplaceable. Maybe it's, like the Sage 1 rod that they don't make anymore, but it's your favorite rod. Like, if you lost it, you can't just replace that thing. Plus the cost to replace it. So for the cost of our little decal, you can protect your item forever. If you ever misplace it, it's really easy for the finder to get it back to you.
There you go. And essentially it's fairly simple. The idea being you've got a decal that goes on a product, and then when somebody out there, if you lose it, somebody finds it, they can just scan a barcode, maybe we should just go back to, just quickly on the step-by-step. So how does that work? And then how would somebody find that? So if I was out there, if I lost let's say, and I'm not sure if you're doing how small things you're doing, but let's just take a rod. Let's say you had a barcode on your rod. How would that process work?
Yeah, so when you buy one of our decals, essentially what it is a unique ID number or a unique QR code on every single sticker or every single decal. We don't like to call them stickers because they're not, but they're badass. They're like military grade adhesive, super tough, super durable. But essentially they're stickers. They're items. You place them on your items, and each one has a unique ID number. So when you create an account with us, you register that item. You say, I'm protecting my fly box. It's a Orvis fly box. I've got 250 flies in there. I value this thing at $300 or whatever it is. And then all of your decals are stored in our secure database. So your phone number or however you choose to be contacted is stored securely in our database. So you don't have your personal information on all of your gear. You don't have your name, your phone number, your address on your personal items. It's our decals that have the secure database. So when the finder finds your fly box, your Orvis fly box with all of your dry flies in there that you value, that you love, that you spent hours and days tying, when they find that, it says reward on there, it says found gear, they just scan the QR code, or they go to our website and they enter that ID number, and they enter, my name is John, I found this, and then they click submit, and automatically both of the finder and the registered owner's contact information is shared with each other. So it's just a really quick, simple, fast process to register your gear, and a simple, fast process to get your gear back to you.
That's it. Okay, so it's very simple, and I just I've got a couple of your QR codes here. I just scanned one. I haven't even registered it yet, but it pulled up. It just pulled up right to your website and log in or sign in, I guess. So
yeah.
So it's pretty straightforward. Once you do that, well, let's talk first. What is the cost? So are there different levels, or how does somebody, get in on that? Yeah.
So originally we started with this idea of we're just going to sell the decals for super, super cheap and then have an annual fee to keep it going. And so anybody who's listening, if you had a Karmic decal previously, but you didn't want to pay the annual fee, register it, because we just got rid of the annual fee. we found that people were reluctant to want to use the service because they don't want to keep paying this annual subscription. So what we did was we got rid of it, but we just increased the price a little bit. We talked to a couple people, and lots of people, and they said, we'd be willing to pay, $8, $9, $10 for one of these decals. So that's what our price is. Our price is $9.98 for one decal, which is the cost of a couple of good flies or a spool of tippet, but you can protect your entire fly box for $10 for lifetime now.
Oh wow!
And then we have different packages. So nobody wants. Well, I hope nobody just wants one. I hope you want 10 or 25 of them. We have those packages on our website, and they are significantly less as you purchase more and more and more of them.
Gotcha. I like that. I think we always talk, the online stuff, the holy grail is the membership subscription, right? Where people are, but the struggle there is that one of the struggles is that, people don't like to pay for a membership because they're paying monthly or annually. And the other struggle is, well, I guess this is kind of a good thing about the membership is that you always have to serve your community and get better and better because people won't stick around. You got the churn. So so you got to deal with that. But you have bypassed that by just saying, you know what? If you have one piece of gear, it's only $10, which is like, that's a no-brainer. I mean, I'm thinking myself, when I think of my examples, as I look around at my, room full of stuff and think about outside, I've got a couple, and we'll talk about this a little bit, the Sawyer oars, right? I got a couple of brand new square tops with the steel head on them, and they're they're like my prized possession. So definitely those are two things that I would like to, so there's $20 there. There's some other stuff, fly rods. I mean, let's go to fly rods. I know before you talked, maybe you didn't have a small enough decal. Is that covered yet now?
Yeah, we just launched with we're calling it the Anywhere tag. So our regular rectangular style decals are about 1 inch by 1.5 inches or maybe 2 inches long. So that doesn't really fit on everything. So I launched with a skinny decal that's it's maybe like 5 millimeters, which nobody knows what a millimeter is. Anyways, it fits on a fly rod. Let's just put it that way.
Really good.
It fits on a fly rod, but we call it Anywhere tag because it'll go on anything that's like maybe like a GoPro or even your key fobs or ski poles or. But this is a fly fishing podcast, so it'll go on your fly rods. And it has the unique ID number and everything's the same. It just doesn't have the QR code. Our other decals have the QR code, and that's sort of just a convenience thing. If you scan the QR code, it automatically takes you to the page, automatically uploads everything. It's sort of just a convenience thing for you. What's the key is that unique ID number. Every single sticker has a unique ID number, and that is your unique ID number. It's on your gear, it's registered to you, and that's how we keep everything straight in the database.
There you go. So basically no QR code, but you still get the decal. So somebody finds your rod, which I think I've told this story maybe once or twice before, but I was at a boat ramp and, was packing up the boat and everything, and we left, and I left 2 of my main trout rods on the bank, just fully set up, like ready to go. And it was like I got back home and I'm like, oh man, you know what I mean? It's just like, that's the worst feeling. And then luckily I called the local fly shop, and somebody had grabbed them and returned them that day and just dropped them off. And I called them. They, hey, by the way, yeah, we got your rod. So, but that obviously, I mean, that's probably the smaller percentage. So your service works. I mean, this sounds like a no-brainer. I mean, obviously there's a cost, but for $20 to basically insure a $300 or $1,000 or whatever, right, piece of equipment, it seems like a no-brainer. Does it? I mean, what are the people like the? I guess there's lots of positives here. I mean, what are the negatives? Well, why would somebody not want to do this?
Okay, so I guess number one is the word insurance, and I think that has a negative connotation. We're not insurance. We are assurance that your gear is identifiable. People are calling us insurance, and like we're not replacing your product. We're not like we're not State Farm over here. Like
And you still have insurance, right? We still have insurance. So it's like, assurance is great because you're basically on the front side. Like there's the assurance that there's a chance that you get your thing back. And likely now when you get it back, let's say you lost your oar, you lost your fly rod, you lost your whatever. How much time have you checked on that? Like on average, are people getting a call back on these?
So yeah, we cannot guarantee that our decals are going to get your items back. We cannot guarantee that they're going to prevent theft. We can't guarantee any of that stuff. What we do is we can guarantee that your gear is identifiable for the finder to get it back to you. And what we found is that we get our gear back on average of 76% within 1 day. Wow. So not 100%, but 76%, which is a hell of a lot better than 0%, right? Like I said, people want to get your gear back to you. Let's make it easy for them to get your gear back to you.
That's great. I mean, that's 76 sounds crazy. So basically it's insurance. So you have insurance, but you have the insurance that within a day, likely, if you're going to get it back, you're probably going to get your gear. And then if you don't, wait a week or whatever. I mean, how much time should somebody wait? So they have their karma. Let's just take that example, the fly rod. I lost my fly rod. It's been a day. Now it's been a week. How long should we wait until we turn it into insurance?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we did a trial. Before we launched the business, we wanted to answer that question of like, do people want to return gear and how long is it going to take? And that's kind of where we got all of our preliminary numbers and everything. We lost a bunch of our own personal gear all over Boise and the mountains, fly rods and everything. And that's how we got these numbers. We didn't want to have people test it themselves. We wanted to make sure it worked. So that's how we got 76% within 1 day. But we had a guy who found my rain jacket and put it in his garage and then forgot about it and then contacted me 6 months later when he was cleaning out his garage.
Oh, wow.
So it might take some time. I mean, most of the time it's pretty quick, but sometimes it might take some time. So maybe, don't lose hope is what I'm saying.
Hard to say. So I guess I would say if you lost it, yeah, I mean, hopefully it comes in. But yeah, I mean, I guess it couldn't hurt. You do insurance. I mean, yeah, I guess that's the point. If you do insurance, let's say something even higher. Let's say it's, I don't know what, like your $1,500 rod or something like that. After whatever, maybe give it a couple weeks or maybe a week, you turn into insurance, you get your insurance claim, you get your money, and then 4 months later, you get your rod back. How does that work, right, with the insurance? So if you do get your rod back, are you guys, what is I guess you got a bonus there, is that right?
I guess I'm thinking of maybe somebody who's like going hunting in Alaska and they put this on their gun case or something and they got their super expensive gun and then the airline loses it, but then they get it later. Yeah, I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Check with your insurance. So you're not you're not a trained whatever insurance provider. So yeah, we'll make sure we'll check in with them first. So okay, so this makes sense. I mean, it's gear wise, it sounds like almost anything that you have on your stuff, with the exception of maybe your flies. I mean, stuff that's expensive, you could put one of your tags on now. Is that pretty much it?
Yeah, we claim a 2x value on the decal, so it's worth the sticker is worth twice as much as the item you're putting it on because we're protecting your original purchase price and we're preventing a repurchase price. So if you have a tornado anchor that's $180, you put our decal on there. You told your wife you're going to be home at 6 and you're just getting off the water at 6 and you leave the anchor and you drive home, and somebody gets you that anchor back. You've just saved yourself $360 from your original purchase price and then having to buy a new one because you lost it. And so, we try to say whatever you value, put it on there. If it's your favorite Yeti mug, put it on there. It doesn't, to me, it doesn't matter what the price is of the item you put it on. It's whatever you love, whatever you value. If it's, the knife that granddad gave you, put a sticker on there so you don't lose it. Some stuff is irreplaceable.
Yeah, that's great. It sounds like, again, I mean, I think we're rightfully so talking this up, but it sounds like, and especially since there's nobody else like that of right now doing anything similar to this. Is that the case?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't invent this lost and found idea, but I brought it to the outdoor market because that's what I know. That's who I am. It's what I love. you go to the ski shops and there's tons of lost and found stuff there. You go to the fly shops, and I guarantee you every fly shop in America has something right now that somebody's turned in that they can't find the owner for. So it's a problem in my space, in what I know. And so I wanted to create a solution for my community, and I wanted to build a brand and build a business that supports my communities, who I am and what I love. And, we have lots of big things planned. My wife loves this. She wants to start the nonprofit section of this so that we can start giving back. We can start sponsoring river cleanups. We can start, sponsoring, real recovery and stuff like that. So we want to grow this business to help our communities that we love. And the first step is we're trying to help our communities not lose stuff anymore. And then we want to help enrich the communities through our nonprofit section. Yeah.
I'm curious because it sounds like such a cool product that, you guys should be making, hundreds of millions of dollars now, right? Sort of thing. But what has been, what has been the biggest struggle to growing it? It sounds like maybe you haven't quit the day job yet, but is that kind of the goal to get to a point where this is like 100%?
Yeah, 100%. That's the goal, is to grow this. And so the biggest struggle right now is that I think everybody that's listening to this is like, oh crap, I have something I like. I have something I want to protect. But the struggle is twofold for me. Is one, are you going to go buy it right now? Because I have a solution for you right now that will protect all of your favorite outdoor gear. If you lose it, it will get back to you within one day, 76% of the time. It's real. And then two is people will get the decals. They'll buy it. They'll be excited for it. But then they won't take the time to register it. And it doesn't take long. You just scan the QR code, create an account, and then you just fill out 3 or 4 questions about what that item is. And you just have to do that for all of your gear. So those are my 2 struggles. 1, I have a product, go buy it and protect your gear. 2, actually use it. Actually register it and put it on your gear. Those are the 2 struggles I have. And I can't do that for people.
And what about the struggles as far as just from a business perspective? It sounds like, getting the word out, right? Like, is that what has been the biggest struggle there to actually getting to that point where, you can go all in on this? Like, I guess more on the marketing side and stuff like that. How are you guys, what is your plan to get to that point?
It's been going really well. The word has been spreading pretty quickly because it's a good idea and it solves somebody's problem. I think that the outdoor community is excited about it. But yeah, trying to reach the masses. And so we recently, within the past 3 months or so, got rid of that annual subscription. So it's sort of like a rebirth of the company at this point, where previously for the first year we had this annual fee and people were using it. But now I think that without that annual fee, I think our adoption is going to get much, much higher, much faster. We sponsored some websites and stuff, and just being a guest on podcasts, just getting the word out there that here's a solution to your problem. Welcome to the community.
Welcome. That's it. Okay. So it sounds like, pretty straightforward as far as, like where I found you, from Sawyer, we worked with them earlier this year, and they're a great company and have great products. And I think that's pretty much it. Just word of mouth. That's usually the best thing, if you can get to that word of mouth piece. And the outdoor community definitely talks about. There's going to be a lot of people listening to this episode that are probably going to tie into this and connect with you. So okay, well, we won't dig in too much of that. I am curious one thing, and I asked this question mainly because there are people in the fly fishing space outdoors that have businesses, and they think about partners and stuff like that. And I'm just curious, I know before when we were talking, this was a while ago when we first started, but you had a business partner. I'm curious if you could just describe a little bit what happened there and how things have changed since. Was it just one partner you had at the time?
Yeah, so it was Aaron and I. We started this business together. I had the idea of this lost and found company, and we kind of worked together on it to begin with. And getting a business partner is like a roommate in college, right? Like, you're like, oh, this person's my best friend. We do everything together. We're such great friends. And then you live together, and you're like, well, this person doesn't do the dishes. You know what I mean?
Yep. Or this person leaves. I always think of leaves a dead duck in his vest when he washes it in the washing machine, right?
What? Is that a story for you?
Yeah, that's a story from a friend of mine that had that happen. But yeah, I love the roommate stories because it's like I exactly know what you're talking about. I mean, there's some roommates that are great. There's roommates that aren't great.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I don't want to talk about it. Aaron's a great human being.
Right.
We're best friends for a number of years. Went duck hunting, elk hunting, fly fishing all over. We did trips everywhere. I just caution people that when you are going to start a business with somebody, it's a marriage. I mean, you're going to have your ups and your downs. You're going to have your struggles, and you need to have sort of your prenup or your operating agreement to just sort of outline how you guys are going to work together and how you're going to settle disputes, because there will be disputes. I mean, one person thinks green, one person thinks yellow, and there's going to be an argument as to who's correct. And find somebody that has complementary strengths to you, and has a good workability, a good mindset where you guys are just going to be able to work together. And Aaron and I, we didn't establish that framework early on. We were just so excited about the business that we just hit the ground running, and we didn't spend the necessary time to work on our business relationship together. And it got to a point where one of us kind of needed to go, and so I ended up buying out his interest in the company, and he's still a fan of Karmik. He's still Karmik's biggest fan. He still got all the decals, and so it's it just didn't work out as business partners. Just like 50% of marriages don't work out.
Right.
Our business relationship didn't work out. So I took over the company, and it's a lot of regrettable decisions and actions were made, I think, on both parts. And I would just caution any listener out there that has a business or a business partner, immediately get an operating agreement. Like, that's just when you're in good terms with somebody and you're like, hey, we're going to have disputes. How are we going to solve these disputes? And that's like a legally binding contract. So, you guys are, when you're in, it's always easier to come up with a good solution when you're both in a good headspace, right?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think that's a great tip, and I'm glad you shared that because, I mean, people think about that a lot. It seems like having a business partner can be a huge help, right? Obviously, you're not doing everything on your own. There's all sorts of benefits, but the biggest tip there is just to make sure before you get into it, just do a basic contract, and while you're level-headed, and that's easy. Well, Robert, I think I feel pretty good about Karmik. We know the value there, and people can get started just going to karmicoutdoors.com. I'm just thinking, again, for somebody maybe has a bunch of great gear. Most of us have thousands of dollars worth of gear just sitting around. If we're preparing, let's just say we're preparing for a river trip, right? You're loading up the boat, you're loading up the truck. You've probably got, I mean, I don't know how much money, right? But you've probably got literally tens of thousands of dollars in equipment. Some of it, we can grab some of your stickers and do that, but some of it you can't. What would you recommend as far as just kind of lost gear to be like some steps to prepare? Do you guys have anything there, any resources or any way to, I mean, yours is a good step, having insurance, things like that. What else should somebody be doing? Is there anything else we can do?
Yeah, absolutely. So number one is just do whatever you can do to try to identify your gear to make sure that somebody who finds it can get it back to you. So if you're not going to buy my decal, fine, great. In fact, I don't want you to buy my decal if you're not going to register it. Save the $10, go buy some flies. You have to register my product for it to work. Unfortunately, there's a story already of somebody who purchased one, may or may not have put it on some Sawyer, or may or may not have lost them and didn't register. So that sucks.
Right.
Save your money if you're not going to register it. Just use a Sharpie. Put your name, put your phone number, whatever. I did a multi-day float, and this guy had his name over on all of his gear. And it was hilarious to me because he just put his name.
Right, just his name. It was like Harry Smith.
Yeah, we got back to Boise, and I thought, like, what the hell am I supposed to do? Like, take his life jacket and go, are you John? Are you John? Are you John? Like,
yeah.
Put your phone number on there.
Yeah.
Make sure it's updated regularly. Check your fly boxes. It rubs off really quickly on a fly box. So check your fly box. Make sure that 8 and that 6 are clearly legible for the finder. I was talking to some guys here at a local shop who carry our decals, and they're big rock climbers. And what they're saying is, like, a lot of times rock climbers will have the same gear, of the same stuff. Oh, yeah. And so they use toenail polish, different colors, toenail polish to ID whose gear is whose. And so one person he'll be sparkly red, like that's his color. And so everybody knows sparkly red is Dave. And so they give it back to Dave. You know, when you go fishing on somebody's boat, chances are there's 2 or 3 nets maybe, or, you know, if you're expecting a really good day, you bring 2 or 3 nets, right?
Yeah, right.
But, you know, like your fly boxes get passed around, stuff like that. Just make sure your gear is identifiable and it's unique to you. And then if somebody finds it, they can get it back to you. So, you know, I would not recommend putting your address. Like, you probably don't want strangers showing up to your home address, or, you know, you move. Like, I think I've moved more times than I have changed my phone number. So don't put your johnsmith@aol.com. That probably isn't going to work. Probably going to go to your junk or your spam or something, right?
Yeah. So it's pretty simple. So there's not a heck of a lot. I mean, just mark your stuff. And I was thinking about a couple of other things. I mean, it's, you know, maybe, and this would help for insurance purposes, but yeah, taking, I don't know, maybe a photo of your gear, of all your gear. That's probably a good thing everybody should do just for insurance. Just know inventory what you have in case you lose. So if you're going on that big trip, right, you got this 5-day, 2-week trip down the Colorado. Just know exactly what gear you have. That way, if you dump your boat and lose everything, you're covered there as well.
Yeah, that's another thing. So one of my uncle's good friends is a insurance adjuster, and I asked him about our service because you register 25 decals with my company. We ask you the name, the make, model, the serial number, anything that is identifiable to that thing, the value of it. And I asked him, I said, so if somebody's house burns down, can they use my service to prove that they owned these items? You know, because you have to prove everything that if you want to get money for it. And he couldn't say yes or no. He said it's a damn good start.
I always go back to the court of law thing, right? If you're in a court of law, a reasonable judge is sitting there listening. I mean, you got a record of it. You registered it. You've got. I mean, with that record comes what? Yeah, you paid money for it. You paid money for it. With that record, it's got your name. It's got the product. I mean, what does the details page look like on your end, on the back end?
Yeah, so it's pretty simple. We would just have Dave, who owns, you know, everything that you registered, your Sawyer square tops, your 6 fly boxes, your 2 stage rods, your nets, your anchors, your fish pond bag, like all of your, whatever you register. And it's kind of up to you to register it accurately. So if it's asking for a serial number, you know, put that serial number on there. But, you know, some stuff doesn't have a serial number. So, and then we have a big description box at the bottom. So if you want to add additional information, like they're not just square tops, they're the artisan square tops that have the steel head.
That's it. So you can put as much detail. So again, to me, that seems straightforward. You know, you've got the information there. If you go to insurance adjuster, I mean, it's there. It's been documented. There's no question that would help you get it covered. So, I mean, it's just like taking photos. Like I said, if you take photos of everything, that's equally as good. Well, maybe not even equally as good, but that helps a ton.
Yeah, we sort of struggle with the idea of, should we have customers take a picture of the item and upload it? And we decided against that one because it just takes up a lot of space in a database to have, you know, all these extra pictures in there, and you know what gear you have and stuff. And so we sort of struggle with that idea. We thought about that. Should we have people have the ability to take pictures of their items? And we decided against that. But if people want it, we'll bring it back. You know, we're just listening to our customers, and if that's something you want, we can do that. But yeah, definitely take pictures of your items to prove that you own it, for sure.
Well, anything else before we start to wrap it up here, as far as Karmik and what people can do? I mean, it seems like it's pretty straightforward. Like I said, you can just go to karmicoutdoors.com and just purchase, if you want one, or if you want, say you got the 2 oars, purchase 2 for $20, and I mean, sign the information. And is that pretty much all? And am I missing anything here?
No, I mean, it's really that straightforward. I mean, it's odd to me that I own technically a tech company, because I'm not a super techie guy, but there's easy to use technology out there. So I brought it to the outdoor market, and I wanted the process to be so simple and fast that people weren't frustrated by it, I gave it to my dad, which is the real test. I said, Dad, do you know how to, could you do this? You know, and if he could figure it out, I mean, my dad's still hunting pecks with one finger on a computer. And, you know, if he could figure it out, I'm pretty sure anybody could figure it out. You know, I wanted to make the process super, super simple for the customer to register. I want to make it super, super simple for the finder to get it back to the owner. And we worked really hard to try to accomplish those two goals. No extra fluff, no extra frills, just bam, bam, you're done.
Yep. Perfect. Well, that's great to know. Well, a couple of things. You mentioned the Oahe, and I always hate to, promote. That's one of the things to do with the show, right? You promote a local water, but I mean, I love how you're in Boise, and just shows you how states, it all overlaps, because Oahe, I guess technically is in Oregon. It's on the far eastern edge, but it's really obviously closer to Boise, which is a major area. And I haven't been out there for a little while, but I love that river. Is that something, I'm just curious, fishing wise, because I haven't been there in a while, how's the fishing there? And I know there was talk about just lots of pressure. How is it now?
Yeah, I mean, it's changing. Everything's changing constantly. When I moved to Boise 10 years ago, I felt very confident I could go out there any day of the week and catch fish any day of the week, and I would find plenty of water. The thing about the Oahe is that it's a tailwater below the reservoir, and it's really only 13 miles of fishable water from the dam down to where these series of hot springs kind of flow into it and make the water too warm for trout. So it's really cold for 13 miles, and then it heats up too much. And it's a really unique river in that there are these really big ponds almost in the river, and I think that gives fish refuge from angling pressure, but also in the wintertime, and then in the summertime with the flows, they can go to these big ponds and seek refuge. And then it turns into like some big runs and big bends and riffles and stuff. But there isn't, a ton of access. I mean, the road follows it the whole way, but there's only so many pullouts, and there's only so many spots. And so nowadays, if you go there on a Saturday at 9 a.m., like you're gonna have to bring a lunch and like wait for somebody to leave, or try to hike away from the road as best you can.
It's packed, so there's cars in every pullout.
Yeah, I mean, we sort of started going in the evening. Like we were like, we're not even gonna leave the house in the summertime. We don't even leave the house until like 5.
Yeah, and
then we get there and we'll find a hole all to ourselves, and then the dun hatch comes off, and we catch a ton of fish, and then we go home at dark.
Right. There you go. Yeah, it's interesting because I don't even know how long it's been since I've been there, but I remember, again, it's that story back in the day, when I was, back when I used to walk uphill both ways to school and all that stuff. But I mean, it was a while ago, and I remember for sure, I mean, there was a few people camping, and pretty much it was open. I'm curious on the hot springs, because that's pretty cool. Are people actually going to the hot springs? Because you hear things about it being kind of like broken glass and stuff like that. Is that cleaned up?
It's absolutely not cleaned up. It's filthy. You could there's lots of places where you could go and just chill in the water, but unfortunately, I think that the Oahe is so far removed from Oregon.
Who owns the property? It's not BOM. I mean, why? Like, who's taking charge of all that?
I don't know, honestly, who owns it.
We'll get somebody to check that out.
I think it is it's definitely some kind of Oregon agency, because like the porta potties are just they're disgusting, and and it's just so much use, and it's so neglected that it
there you go.
People are like living out there, like homeless vagabonds are showing up and just living out there, and
that's it. And I think the cool thing would be is to talk to somebody who can just check, because it seems like it's such a cool place. It seems like most of the cool places around the country, and you could look at the Colorado, probably places in Idaho that are not that we're going to restrict, this, but there's restrictions because it gets too crazy. And, it sounds like that's the place, that it's such an amazing place. Something like that's got to be done, because it just sounds like nobody's taking care of it and people are trashing on it, which I remember back when I was there, again, back in the day, there wasn't hardly anybody there, so you didn't notice it. And being remote, in fact, there were no campgrounds, was great. But you also have that whole thing up above, right, where people are taking their boats up to the reservoir, so you probably get a little bit of
and that's what's kind of sad is the reservoir facilities are fine, and that's
they're fine,
because that's where all like the boating money goes, and that's where all the sheriffs go, and like that's where that's where people are, right? Our brand is called Karmic Outdoors. It's definitely a play on karma, and I think every fly fisherman in the world believes in river karma. Just leave it cleaner than you found it. Pick up 1 or 2 extra pieces of trash. Fill up your net. There's always these things going on. Just do that. And if everybody did that, the whole outdoor world would just be immaculate. The problem is people don't.
No, and that's the one place where I think the government can do good, right? Is that sometimes that's the stuff that they can help out with, right? If there's people that are it's the tragedy of the commons is the idea here, is that it's open and people take advantage of it. And then when somebody sees somebody trash and like, well, he trashed it, why can't I trash it or whatever, or kill more fish, or you name it. Right.
Yeah. Tragedy of the commons. It's
That's it. Oh, we'll sum it up. Maybe that'll be the title of this. No, we don't want that to be the title, but let's wrap this up, Robert, here. I just had a couple of random ones as we're getting out here. Obviously, it sounds like you've got a ton of fishing experience, and maybe we could, save that for another episode to dig in more to that. But I'm interested, the camper van, going back to that. So if somebody wanted to follow in your lead and take a year off, quit their jobs, travel around the country, do that sort of thing, is there a resource? Where would you direct somebody to learn more about, where do they find vans, to do it, all that stuff?
Dude, there are so many blogs and resources out there. Everybody who's done it has created a blog, right? Because they're hoping.
Oh, really? Yeah.
They're hoping, like, follow my journey, follow my build.
There you go.
And so there's tons of that stuff. The one resource that we used that we loved was called BoonDockers Welcome. It's .com. It's so boondocking is when you're just driving and you just decide to sleep for the night and you just like find a spot. You're not an established campground. You're just kind of wherever. And so BoonDockers Welcome is a community of sort of like-minded individuals where they have a house or something and they have like a side yard where you can just park for a night. It's a safe place. And we met a guy in Alaska, super cool. He let us stay there for a couple of nights, and then he took us around. And then he took us out on his boat. It's just like, it's just like really cool, like-minded people who are like, hey, I like to travel too, but I have a house, so here's a place you can stay for the night. And they're all over the country. They're everywhere. So that was a really cool resource for us to use. And your public lands are yours. You own them. So you should never be afraid to pull over on the side of a road or near a bridge or on a river or a lake, as long as it's loud, and sleep there. Places like Idaho are like 75% public land. You could just drive in the forest and go sleep.
So you can do that even if there are, let's say, designated Forest Service campgrounds nearby. I mean, if there aren't signs saying you can camp anywhere on public land. That's what you're saying. Yeah,
exactly. Try to be a good steward of the land and camp where somebody else has already camped. Don't drive out in the middle of nowhere and make another fire pit somewhere. And pick up one extra piece of trash. But yeah, you can go in. They're your lands. Go use them. Go sleep there. And we did that in Alaska. We found a really sweet lake and we slept there for the maximum limit, which was 14 days. And then we moved to another one and slept there for 14 days and made good friends with the ranger. And she was like, if you watch this area, we'll let you stay a little bit longer. So we did that.
There you go. Yeah, no, that's a great tip. And I think that tip you mentioned again about your vehicle is a good one, is that, if you got you see some of these campers out there driving on the road, and it's just unbelievable, right? These things are, they're bigger than semi trucks.
Yeah.
Right. They're pulling these fifth wheels around. You're like, holy crap.
Yeah.
That does not look like any fun. And we have a little, like a 20-foot pull behind camper. And we don't use it very much, right? It's used, but it's just because it's just so much easier to throw stuff in the back of the truck and you can just go and, like you said, drive down a road and camp wherever.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, I guess, another tip is just be realistic with what you want to do and what you want to experience. If you're a person that's on the move all the time, then you're probably not going to want to pull behind camper. Splurge a little bit for that van or buy a truck and put a big camper shell on it and convert that, because like if you're going to go rock climbing in Utah and you're going to go mountain biking and you're going to go, like, it might be difficult for you to find that perfect campsite with your pull behind camper. You know, a lot of these places are pretty small, and you know, you're not going to be able to fit your 25-foot camper everywhere. You know,
no, most places, yeah. I got a new little segment here. This is one, this is like the last three. And we've been asking some music questions, like your favorite music, but I'm curious because I was just watching a YouTube video, this, Harry Mack, Pat Flynn. I saw him talking about this guy. I'm not sure if you heard of Harry Mack, but he's a freestyle rapper on YouTube. And he pretty much, you give him a few words, and he'll just make up a freestyle rap, and it's pretty unbelievable. I was listening to some of it. But so if you think YouTube, podcast, kind of music, or kind of, you know, reading, blog posts, things like that, can you give us like your last three things you watched, listened to, or read in something in the outdoor space? Or it could be just in general. Is that, or if you want to dig into any one of those, does anything come to mind for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to try to boost your ego at all, but I love both of your podcasts. I listen to I listen to them all the time. Your
amazing.
Your outdoor marketing one, I've listened to every one of them. I think they're great.
Oh, that's cool.
You know, because I'm an outdoorsman, but I'm building a business, and so I listen to all the business podcasts as much as I can. But this one's nice because it's specific to kind of our industry and who we are, and so I like listening to that. So if the listeners out there haven't heard the other podcasts, you guys definitely should listen to them. If you have any interest in business at all, like they're really good. Dave does a really good job, and he brings a lot of really knowledgeable people out there to help you, give you really good tips and stuff. So.
Oh yeah, no, it's the struggle on that one is that I think we will get there where it's getting more consistent, but just with everything I've been doing the last part of this year, growing the wet fly swing, we're trying to kind of get to another level here. It's taken a little bit of a backseat, but I'm not leaving that one. I'm going to swing around and get kind of double down once I can get a couple of people. I'm working on some help, some assistance and things like that. So, but yeah, no, I appreciate that. That's super cool to hear.
Yeah, so I'm a huge fan of podcasts. I don't know what I did with my life before podcasts, but
nice.
I love podcasts.
Give me your top. Let's just dig into podcasts, Robert. Give me your top. Like this comes from Dave Jackson, who was one of my guests on the Outdoors Online podcast, where he's a podcaster and he has this little segment on his where he says, "What are the 5 podcasts you listen to? Not your 5 favorite, but the last 5 you listen to. Can you give us those last 5?
Yeah, I can. And I guess what I love about the fly fishing community is I don't see any other fly fishermen or any other resources being a competing resource. When I'm floating down the fly in the drift boat or whatever, and somebody's like, "What are you catching them on?" I tell them what I'm catching them on, because I view this as a community where we can help each other. And so I'm going to pitch these podcasts that I listen to that are the Wet Fly Swing podcast, which is yours, your Outdoor Business Marketing, which is yours, the Fly 97 podcast, which is another fly fishing podcast, the Wade Out There podcast. I'm a huge fan of that one. And then the a hunting one that I'm a huge fan of is the Rich Outdoors. So I don't want to push people away from your podcast, because both of your podcasts are great, but there's lots of fly fishing podcasts. And if you haven't heard the Orvis Fly Fishing podcast, like, what are you doing with your life? You have got to listen to the Orvis Fly Fishing podcast. It's the holy grail. I mean, it's
it's huge.
Yeah,
he's the leader. We just had Phil Monohan was just on the Orvis blog. He's the guy that's been running the Orvis blog, a daily fly fishing blog, right? Mm-hmm. For like, they have 10,623 blog posts. And if you look at their traffic online, they've got 500,000 or whatever it is, you know what I mean? Like they're bigger than everybody else, but that's because there's so much content. And I totally agree. In fact, before I started this podcast, I listened to Tom's podcast, and it's a killer resource. So no, that's awesome. I mean, I made the list with, and I know the Fly Fishing 97, we've done some stuff together. He's a super cool guy. I don't know the other, well, I've heard about the Wade Out There, and part of my goal is to raise up all fly fishing podcasts as well. So I'm trying to slowly get those podcasters on to promote, you know what I mean? Help them get going. And Rich Outdoors, there you go. So a new one that I'm going to add today to my list. So thanks for that.
Check out the Rich Outdoors. It's a hunting podcast, really. It's he's big into archery elk, and they're big into like rifle deer and stuff like that. But but he also does a lot of outdoor entrepreneurial stuff, which I really enjoy those ones. He has a lot of big brands on there, and they talk about the struggles of building a business and stuff. And yeah, definitely check that one out. Even if you're not into hunting, if you're into outdoor entrepreneurialism at all, it's a great one.
That's amazing. All right, Robert. Well, this is another one of those podcasts where it's, you feel like I wish we could sit here and talk for another couple of hours.
Yeah.
But I'm going to respect your time and let you get out here, and we'll keep in touch with you. The best place, I guess KarmicOutdoors.com is the best place to get hooked up with you. And yeah, just give us a heads up the next year or whatever you want to give us a timeline, 6 months, year, 2 out. What can we expect? It sounds like this big change you have now with the one-time fee is huge. What else, as we look out, what else are you getting excited about?
Yeah, so probably what I'm most excited about is the ability for Karmic Outdoors to partner with outdoor brands. So Karmic has partnered with Sawyer Paddles and Oars. So when you purchase a pair of Sawyer Paddles and Oars, you can upgrade to having the Karmic decal on their product. And they don't just put a decal on it. They put it under the varnish, under the fiberglass, so it will never come off. So what I'm most excited about is our ability to partner with these brands. Like we are partnering with a couple brands that I can't say the names yet. I can't do that.
Sure.
But when you buy their product, it's going to come with Karmic Outdoors Lost and Found built into it already. Because, like I said, Dave, one of my struggles is everybody's listening. I have a solution to your problem. Go buy it. You're not probably going to go buy it right now. But no. if there's 3 or 4 different products lined up on a shelf, and one of them has my service on it, you're more likely to buy that product. And that's really going to help, I think, with my customer adoption, is providing value to the brand, but also providing value to the customer through this Lost and Found partnership that we have in there. So I'm really excited for that. We got a couple of things coming with that. I'm launching soon with a dog tag. Our decals have a super tough adhesive, and they'll work on a lot of things, but they don't work on everything. And so this dog tag is going to be able to go on your boat bag or your luggage or your life vest or whatever it is.
Cool.
Even your dog. We're putting those out there because people are asking for it. People are saying, "Hey, this is great, but I want something for my my fish pond boat bag or whatever." So so we're putting that on there. Amazing. So we got a couple things coming up, and
it sounds like you're going to change the world here for the better. I mean, this is some good stuff. I mean, we're again, it just goes back to, I think, of myself and, going back to the oars or the fly rod. Well, let's just take it to really quickly. So the decal, this is kind of minimal thing, but where would you put that decal if you're putting it on your oar? Does it matter where you put it, and also on your fly rod?
Yeah. So I always recommend you put it someplace visible. If you put it on your fly rod, don't put it underneath the reel where people aren't going to be able to see it. Oh, right. Don't put it on the reel seat. I put mine right next to, or right above the cork where your thumb would be, so that you got to see it. You got to see. Make it visible. If you've got your super awesome hydro flask that has 50 stickers on it, put my decal where somebody's going to see it. Put it on the top where you drink from or something. Right. Don't put it on the bottom where you're going to miss it, or your cooler. Like, maybe put it on the top of the cooler lid where nobody puts a sticker. So those are my. These are super, super tough, man. Like, if you want to put it on your oar blade and bang it up with rocks, it's totally fine. Go for it. And if it ever becomes unusable, I'll replace it for free. Just email me. I'll send you a new one. Like, perfect. That's my guarantee. Like, I want you to have something to protect your gear, and I want to solve this problem. That's my passion. That's why I started this business. And if your decal doesn't work, I will send you a new one.
Perfect. Well, I'm going to put mine on my oar blade, but I'm going to put it at the top. It's funny because my oar blades are so freaking new that, like, my kid scratched. She was hauling around. She scratched one of the things, and I didn't give her a hard time too much. But it's like, oh man, these things you don't want to. But the thing is, they're going to get beat up. It's a piece of gear. It's just like your fly rod. Stuff's going to get dinged and stuff. So, but no, that's cool, Robert. I will let you get out of here, and thanks again for providing this solution. And I'm really glad glad that I connected with Sawyer and they connected us. And yeah, man, looking forward to keep in touch with you as we move forward. And thanks for everything you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. And if you're still listening, I'd like to offer a coupon code for everybody out there. So this is the Wet Fly Swing podcast. So we'll call the code WFS, Wet Fly Swing 25 for 25% off. And just thank you for listening. Thank you for having me on, Dave. And I hope people go out there and use this product.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll add that code into the show notes and everything else like we talked today, and I'll make sure it's right at the start here, right at the start of the episode, and so people can check it out. Okay, Robert, we'll talk to you soon. All
right, Dave. Thank you so much.
So there you go. If you want to find all the show notes and links that we talked about today, head over to wetflyswing.com/264. If you're new to the podcast, please take a moment and click that subscribe button on your app of choice, and you'll get the next episode delivered right to your inbox. I want to thank you for sticking around today. I appreciate your support, appreciate all the listens this week, and I'm not sure, maybe you're digging into the back catalog right now. If you're new to the show, again, good to have you here, and check in with me anytime, dave@wetflyswing.com. Email me, and I'll see what I can do about putting together a good episode for you. Talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Wet Fly Swing Fly Fishing Show. For notes and links from this episode, visit wetflyswing.com.